right. Happy first episode of our podcast. We've been warming up for the last half hour, and that's why it's so late. So
I feel like we should have had some intro music, but
that's what I was thinking, honestly. Next time,
Do you want Carrie Underwood? Is it Sunday night?
Writing them down. Yeah, welcome to our Sleeper podcast. We are going to try to do this each week. The draft was a big one that I wanted to kind of chat about, but also each week summarize what happened, matchups, and just kind of go over it. I know that's wishful thinking. I'll never do it myself, so I would love for at some point to get everybody on to kind of be a part of this party. This was more of a social gathering than anything, but also it's just fun to talk fantasy football, fun to listen to fantasy football. So yeah, today we'll try to jam kind of 2 episodes into one, since we're not only post-draft, but post-week 1. And as we talk about the beginning, the drafts, and summarizing the year, we'll try to leave out any of the information we gathered from week 1. I know that'll be hard, but as we talk about, were draft picks reaches or were they steals? I don't want to be thinking about Christian Watson dropping a pass.
first play of the game.
Just gave it away.
Obviously, he was a incredible pick at the position that he was in, at least in my mind. So a lot of it will be opinion based, but also, we all have our drinks, so we'll see where this goes. Yeah, today Mike and V are with me, and I expect them to be with me often for this. I have notes on Mike because he was supposed to be here. We talked about him being here. He was surprised to hear some of this, but this is kind of what I love about Sleeper, is you can get all this information. Number one, he is, Mike Sarah, is the second winningest owner in this league.
Hey.
He's second to Wise.
I was surprised too, V.
I'm going to fact check this on my app as we go.
Please do. Again, Sleeper is awesome that the results and the logging history is fantastic. But yeah, he has the second most wins in our 3 seasons to Wise. He was third in last year, third in 2021. And that was what was big about that year, is the first time the money came up. And so that was the $50 buy-in year. And he was also second in 2019, which was our first year. Is that correct? This is our 3rd year. So
2019 was first. Yeah.
Sorry, this is our 4th year. Okay.
Yeah, this is our 4th.
And honestly, Mike, earlier you kind of, when we were texting, you're like, I don't know how I got 3rd last, or was it 2nd, 3rd last year. I had written down that you are probably a favorite for this year. And so that's all opinion based. But when you were like, I don't know how my terrible team had been 3rd, like, I really like your team.
Well, I would say I have a tenuous running back situation, especially with Montgomery. I just don't know what that looks like going forward with the new offense, and with Herbert performing how he did the first week, especially in the second half. Herbert was great. So I'm nervous about my running backs. Najee seems like he could get hurt.
Is hurt.
Will hurt. 30 touches.
He's going to play this week, but I think
you
going
have
forward,
the wrong Patriots running back.
Was that?
They're all
the wrong Patriots running back.
If there's one thing I've learned in my
figure that out
over many years of fantasy football, there is no such thing as a right Patriots running back.
That's true.
But yeah, I texted Rooney this weekend and just asked, when do you think the Bears will figure out that Herbert is better than Montgomery? Because he is. And I mean, they're both good. They're both that's the Bears thing, ground and pound, right? So I bet there's going to be room for both of them, but you're right in worrying that.
I regret trading Herbert away.
But V, I don't have any accolades written down for you. Would you like to claim some? You said you're looking at the.
I can't find it on the app, so I think I have no accolades. I mean, it was like 2nd or 3rd first year. I don't know.
Okay.
That was my best. That was my best, and then since then it's been
trading
away 1st-round picks for players who get hurt halfway through the season. So
yeah, I can't talk because the very first year of this, I was dead last, toilet bowl loser, 10th place, and
I love it.
Had to dig myself out of that. So any 2019 talk, mad props. The only thing I remember from that year is making a trade with Corey, where Corey V, I believe, was 2nd or 3rd that year.
Yeah, he was whatever one I wasn't.
Corey Vladisov, right?
Yeah,
You have
we
to
both
clarify.
kind of understood where we were at, and I got a top pick from him for a player that was going to play 1 week, maybe two. Like it was right before the playoffs, right before the trade deadline. Gosh, I can't even think of his name. He's the Atlanta fan. It was an Atlanta running back that oh my goodness, why can't I think of the name?
It wasn't Michael Burner Turner, was it?
No, this is 2019. This isn't
I know,
2012.
I'm joking.
But it was somebody that was only in the position, but it was guaranteed touches. It was, but he ended up doing well for Corey and helping him in his playoff run. And I got the pick from it that eventually, yeah, that's why we're doing this, right? The Dynasty League is something that we've all wanted. It was something that, as we did Crapshoot, we thought we can do the same thing, but trade draft picks and have fun with it. And so I think it's going well, right?
I enjoy it. And
I'm thinking of Devonta Freeman.
That's probably who it was.
It
No,
wasn't. Freeman got knocked out, and it was
Freeman was the starter. Yeah.
We're gonna find out. We're gonna go through this and find out by the end of this podcast.
Okay, because I'm looking at 2019 for the Falcons right now, and there's Keith Smith, Devonta Freeman, Ito Smith, and
do I have the wrong team?
Kadri Allison, Brian Hill.
Brian Hill. It was Brian Hill.
Brian Hill. Okay.
Brian Hill. All those guys got injured. Brian Hill was the only one left. He was guaranteed touches, and the team was still good. It was not a bad move on his part. I would have tried to go second rounder instead of a first. I do believe I got a first rounder out of that when we were all trying to feel out what value each round picks had. And it wasn't going to be a great one. He was a good team. He was a playoff team. So it wasn't going to be anything better than a 1-6, 1-7. But yeah, I got that pick from him, which eventually turned into something all right. Maybe even
now that I'm on the 2019 page, Corey's team was crazy. In his bye week, he scored 162 points, blew everybody away when he was playing nobody. Then he lost to Mike with the second highest, 142 by 1 point.
I love it.
Semifinals. And then his team was emotionally drained and lost by 70 points. So to Wise in the third place game. And I was wrong. I was not in the playoffs. My accolade that year was beating you, John, in the toilet bowl.
Well, we'll have to fact check at the end, but I do believe the player I got from that trade that helped him place that year is either Justin Jefferson or DeAndre Swift.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
I mean, that's dynasty for you. He had a team that could have, should have, maybe won the championship that year, and trading Rams did it in real life for Stafford. You trade first round picks for championships.
Is that not the Cubs? Is it not the Cubs trading Gleyber Torres to win it? Yeah,
same thing.
And then
what place did I get in 2019?
Second.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right, I'm looking at my name that I made, and I think after the first two games, my name is from 2019 is still tanking. I think I lost the first two games terribly.
There's a lot of that.
10-1. There's
a lot of Wise naming his team like just awful, and V did it too. Like, yep. I think at one point Wise called it in Crapshoot, not Crapshoot Dynasty. He called it reverse psychology. Like he was trying to psych out his players.
Yeah.
The year he had Josh Gordon and he was scoring 1 million points a game, his team name was something demeaning to his team, and then he ended up second or third.
I think last year
we got to move on because we've got 40 minutes of Zoom. To nobody wants to watch a podcast that's over an hour long. So I'm going to be looking at my notes a lot today because I don't know how to do this, but also I'm well researched. I don't have a job right now, so
use your research.
Yeah, we're going to go over the draft first. I think that's going to take up most of this. I really think, obviously, that's a big part of fantasy football. Dynasty fantasy football is the rookie draft. You know, not just like when you do a redraft, it's who's the best player at the time. When you do a dynasty draft, it's what are the holes in the lineups that you need to cover. So where some of my leagues, Kenneth Walker was a dead set number 2 and 3. He can go much later, or wide receivers weren't going in our league, and I was just like shocked because I needed wide receivers, but it's because everybody needs running back. It's the best part about dynasty, and that's what we're going to go over today. and again, later we'll go over each episode, or not each episode, each matchup, and just, yeah, see how much fun we're having, see how much people are enjoying this, and potentially I would love to kind of offer this up as like a thing that we do for other people's leagues, is, you know, chat about it. And, you know, everybody loves themselves. Everybody loves their own team. Everybody loves to listen to how they're doing from a non-biased perspective. And so I get that this is kind of a biased perspective because we're talking about our own. But I would love to do this for other people's leagues that I don't know, and just talk about like, whoa, what were you thinking there? Or, wow, awesome pick. That's a steal. And not know that like, oh, it was V. It was obviously a reach because that's what V does. You know, just not know these people.
Especially if it's an eagle.
Eagles, Corey, it's the Falcons. There's going to be a Ritter comment in here somewhere because I liked Ritter a lot, and so when he grabbed Ritter, I was like, is that a Falcons move or is that a best available move? All right, so moving on, I'm going to share the screen just to kind of one, get my tech savviness down. Oh, see, already making mistakes. Two, I love how Crapshoot kind of lays this out. So you see the whole draft. It's a short draft, obviously. You can click on each player to see which picks there are. So I'm going to drag this down here. Perfect. Yeah, you can see some people had 1 pick, some people had 4 picks, some people had 5 picks. And then they highlight down here who they were traded from. You can see if they're in gray, they were traded last year. If they're in black, like this one, it was traded during the draft. So that's the differentiation there. Like I said, I'll kind of lead this because I've been taking notes, but Mike and V, jump in anytime you've got kind of a comment on it.
I'm just here for the snacks.
I did supply snacks. I sent everybody snacks, and yeah, no, that's not true. But what's everybody drinking today? Anybody? I know V, you're on your way out. You were drinking earlier.
Yeah.
I was
have
drinking
what's called Soul Picnic. It is a West Coast hazy IPA from Crux Fermentation.
Where's
Very
Crux
good.
at?
Crux is in Bend, Oregon.
Love it. Rooney will appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a great brewery.
V, what did you drink earlier that now you can flush out with water?
I did drink strawberry rhubarb by New Glarus, and then I had a Moon Man from New Glarus.
Dude,
Moon Man is a great beer.
Strawberry rhubarb doesn't even taste like beer. It's
fantastic.
Yes,
and
it is.
No
amazing.
matter how many guys try to tell you like that's not real beer, it doesn't matter. It tastes delicious.
Yep. Drink it. I'll drink it every summer, every fall. Don't give it.
Oh, it just goes too fast. Like there's a lot of people who be like, yeah, it's just too sweet. I can't drink a whole one, or I can't drink 2. Like, motherfucker, I'll drink 4. Mm-hmm. And that's all I'll drink.
I don't think it's like some of those other sweet beers where like, yeah, you drink 2 and you're sick. This one you could have.
No, it's delicious. And they do another one, Cherry Red Belgium. That one's really good too. Oh, good for you.
New iterations that I have not had since I left Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm. They do a lot of apple like cider beer. It's not cider, but it's like a apple and pear. I forget what it's called. I think like Pear 21. Again, Corey can comment on this. Corey Worthy, and tell me that I'm wrong, but they do a couple of those like really crisp, fruity ones that are delicious. Okay, Again, we're getting away. I have a gift from Corey Worthy. This is Russell Reserve 6-year rye.
Very nice.
It is fantastic. It tastes just like Willet, which is my end all be all bourbon that I can drink forever. So that's what I'll be chowing on today. But yeah, let's get started. So clicked on the player, not the person. First pick of the draft, Brian. First of all, super surprised that Brian had the first pick of the draft. Like looking back at his team, him and Wise both had teams that probably could have been playoff teams. Yep. Unlucky losses. I believe he was like edged out for the playoffs, Brian. And then because we reward the winner so that there's no tanking, Brian, I think, won pretty handedly in the consolation bracket and therefore won his pick of Breece Hall. In my notes, I'll kind of go back and forth here. Brian's team is super complete. Like, I don't think he was looking running back, right? He's got 2 of the top running backs. He's got Kareem Hunt. He's got Naheem Hines, Singletary, Carter, and obviously his.
I mean, Jamar Chase. Like, how is that fair? When Saquon is healthy, it's just not fair. Him and Chase and Cook and Renfro, Kelsey,
Right. But just
all
looking at
starting.
what his open,
even Tampa defense.
but looking at what his weaknesses are, like he's definitely not. He's got the only reliable tight end in the league right now with Gronk leaving. Like maybe wide receiver.
He's on his bench, yeah.
But like Thielen, Boyd, but I think Breece Hall stood alone up front, that it's like, it doesn't matter what the hole was. Breece Hall is who you're getting, because he's going to be a 3-down back, which doesn't exist for as much anymore. He's going to be that guy. Carter is not going to be that guy, and he has Carter. So I
was going to say, doubling down, it made sense for him to take him because he had Michael Carter already.
I think Breece was the 1-1 regardless of who had that spot. So good pick, Brian. Corey took Drake London, again, Atlanta, right? Like we got an Atlanta fan here. But again, I don't think it's a consensus, but when looking at his team, I'm not gonna, I mean, there's quite a few holes. I think running back is,
huge running back issues.
He was already trading for running back in week 1. He didn't have Patterson when this draft happened. Come by week of Dallas, when he's got Pollard and Zeke, it's going to be trouble. But when you look at the draft, like who were the sure thing running backs? It was basically just Breece. People liked Walker because he was talented, but really his situation in Seattle, again, nobody saw Geno Smith coming into Denver and beating Russell Wilson.
I mean, to be fair, they were at home in Seattle, but but Rashad, like, I think even despite week 1 already happening, like that entire job is Rashad Penny's to lose at this point.
Yeah.
I think he had the off season to prove himself. If he can stay healthy,
which is
just built,
nearly impossible for him, but sure.
Well, and that's fair. Like I would say the same thing about Saquon and about Christian McCaffrey. We can get into this later. Also Elijah Mitchell, but Penny's still young and has not had a starting opportunity. So I think not going with Walker here is it. I mean, that's a fair play.
Especially if he was planning on turning around right away and either drafting another running back, which we see here later, multiple running backs actually, but also trading for one with the Patterson move. Again, I want to talk about this. Like, I don't know what's going to happen in week 1, but I think that was probably his logic, was take the best available, which it was Drake London, and then hope to get a running back that, he feels more comfortable with than Walker. And as somebody who took Walker in a separate league, it was a risk I was willing to take because he was so talented. He is probably the second most talented running back in this draft. And he's someone that, again, Penny is made of glass at times. So he will most likely get a spot at some point. So that brings me to Wise third pick. Again, probably a value pick. Looking at my notes, again, I see the words best available, meaning he probably didn't have a hole there. Yeah, Eckler and Kamara. I think he's got Henderson and Akers, right? Yeah, Henderson and Akers. So there wasn't really a hole. Oh, and he's got Penny. So just like Brian with Breece and Carter, he's got Penny and Walker and has guaranteed himself the starter. And actually, I'm sure he'd probably prefer an injury rather than the timeshare that will start. So nice pick. I know at some point I kind of considered trading up into this area, but the price is, we're still young. We're still 3 years into this. We're still working on what the price is to not only be in the top of the draft, a first rounder, but towards the front. So here is our first draft trade, but it being in gray, here I'm trying to click, I guess we had to click on Johnny. Being in gray, that means it happened earlier. V, can you elaborate on when this happened or who this happened for? How did he get your 4th pick?
This is for DeAndre Hopkins. This was
Straight up.
last year, or it had to be last year, I think. I traded him Amari Cooper and a first round pick for Hopkins and 2 other role players, one of which I don't think is on my team anymore. But I didn't think Cooper was a very good NFL receiver anymore, and my team had a chance to compete, so I traded for Hopkins. And I think I've undervalued, or I don't know if that's the right word, have been too flippant with first round picks, but we can discuss that on a future podcast. But yeah, I wanted Hopkins and went out and got him.
Yeah, and that worked out swimmingly.
Had I known the guy was going to bust open his knee and then take a shortcut in recovery, but
allegedly. Yeah, so whatever the path was, Johnny ends up getting somebody pronounce his name for me. Rooney's gonna make Olave. I was gonna say Olave, but then I got nervous that Rooney would text me and
I'm sure it's just Olave.
like
I was gonna say Olive, to be honest. No. So actually, this was in another league. I want to stop referring to other leagues, but he was taken second as I know it's a reach, but I really like him in this spot. So being in New Orleans, they've always been throwers. They've always been 40 passes a game, 45 passes a game. I can see where this would be one of those dynasty picks of okay, it might not happen this year, but Michael Thomas is old and decrepit. And Landry is 90 as well. So I can see him not immediately, but year 2, year 3 being a wide receiver 1. So I really like that pick there. But I liked a lot of the wide receivers in this draft, as you'll see it later.
The Hopkins trade was
and I think
2020. So I actually traded Johnny consecutive first round picks for DeAndre Hopkins.
But that's probably
in 2020 my team was the best team I've had this whole time and had a chance to win. And I was probably bored being inside a house from COVID for like 6 months at that time. So I needed to do something, shake it up.
But to be fair, I think that is his value at this,
oh yeah, he's a
pre-suspension
top 5 wide receiver, 2
exactly.
Pre-suspension and injury, because he was pretty sustainable. He was a very.
That's why I traded for him, because Cooper kept getting hurt. I'm like, okay, Hopkins never gets hurt. Let's go.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and if really quick, I could just talk about Olave.
Olave.
Who knows?
Whatever it is, I'm so sorry to him, but. I traded away Michael Thomas to John a couple of years ago, which has turned out to be a steal, just an absolute steal, because the guy hasn't played at all. And I think with Michael Thomas's injury, I guess talent, and the fact that Landry is, probably past his prime, I think this is a really good pick. Especially if eventually they can, I like Jameis for the most part, but I don't think he's not a long-term answer. If they can get a good quarterback in there in the next 2 years,
but he's a gunslinger.
This is a really good pick long-term.
He's going to throw. He's going to get his throws, and that fantasy is different in that way. Would I want him leading my team? No, but is he going to throw 45 passes and 3 interceptions? Yeah, and that's fine with me, because the interceptions don't hurt me, because he's not my quarterback. He's just got my receivers that.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's important. All right. So Johnny, again, I kind of made a note that he, I was going to say it needs a running back, but he just needs someone who's not on Denver. So he's got wide receiver 3s. Him and Rooney both just have wide receivers.
He's got 1,000 wide receivers.
Yeah. And so he needed a running back, but again, that Olave pick was okay, he's the best available, and I've got a back-to-back here. So why not make sure I get this guy? And then, This one is one where like my opinion is gonna show through more than fact. Probably
You can
like
go first because I have a thought on this one too.
I do as well. Yeah.
Buffalo running backs are turning into New England running backs to me.
And it wasn't clear last year. What makes you think this is going to help clear the mud? Like,
Exactly. I mean, Singletary was so much better than Moss last year, but still, like they're going to, and maybe they're doing something right? Like they're keeping their guy healthy. But for fantasy purposes, I'm gonna avoid that. I would have, for me to pick Cook in the first round. I mean, anywhere in the first round, I would have liked to see Moss get dropped from the team. Honestly, I know that sounds again, I'm rooting against a kid who I don't know about, but I would have liked to see them commit to, at the very least, Cook is our second guy, and he's not. And Singletary and Moss are both very young, and he's gonna, I don't know, he might be a talented individual, but is the situation great for him for a 1-5? I don't know.
I'm going to break our rule here real quick because I know this is supposed to be pre-week 1, but post-week 1, Devin Singletary handled 75% of the snaps and looked like the beast that he hasn't been for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it was against the porous run defense. But anyway,
yeah, like that was their thing that they're going to be running. Corey Worthy was here in Colorado for that Wednesday night game, and we were just kind of making small bets on DraftKings, and we were like, the very first thing I said was like Singletary over. I don't care what it is, because that defense and just his situation. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see, Johnny. Hopefully Cook proves me wrong there. One of my favorite picks of the draft here is Corey Worthy. Again, I really liked this wide receiver class. I know that it's like being compared to last year's and the year before, like Chase and then Jefferson, and we're looking for the one. I don't think there's going to be one like that.
Oh, really?
But
Okay.
a good situation here with AJ Brown leaving, and I think Corey has AJ Brown, so this double worked for him because he gets the two wide receiver ones for his team. Yeah, two wide receiver ones. So I really liked that pick. It was his only pick of the draft. He made it work. Let me check my notes here because I haven't even been following them. It said he has needs at running back, but there wasn't much there at this point. This next pick, I have no idea how many hours in between, but before we started recording this, talked about that Rooney's pick here. There was a lot of news that pushed him up and down, but mainly up. But before that big game and Mac, obviously he might not even have been a first rounder. So I like where Corey was at here with Treylon Burks. Anybody want to add to that? Or
I would just be fair to Rooney here. In terms of the Texans, like Mac got hurt, but who else? Like Burkhead?
Mac didn't get
hurt.
And
Mac, they're both. Huh?
Mac didn't get hurt. He just got let go.
Oh, well, you see how much I pay attention. But either way, like whether he was there or not, I think this guy is a first round pick just because of the situation.
Yeah.
He's gonna get those second half dump yards, where he's just in the flat or he's the outlet at this point.
Isn't that funny?
They're going to run a lot in the first half because they want to eat up clock because they know they're going to get creamed.
To me, it's always funny of the you don't want a running back on a bad team because of they're going to be throwing, but once it gets so bad that they're always down 20, 25 points, you want that Buck Allen who's going to be getting dump offs at the end of the game because they need to do something. So there is a fine line there. And I don't see Kenneth Walker as that guy, but I do see, I don't see Seattle as that team, but I do see the Texans as that team. But again, that's pre-week 1. That's pre-tying the Colts, who still ESPN is talking about as a Super Bowl favorite, which is wishful thinking. Rooney, I now like that pick. At the time, I thought it was a reach. But again, I was receiving information later than everybody else, being kind of remote. It was, let's see. I literally wrote under Rooney has wide receivers for days, and I think he'll agree that he has wide receivers threes up the wazoo. Okay, moving on to Mike, because I just got a notification. Did you guys see the notification? Since
Oh shit, we got 10 minutes left. Let's go.
yeah.
All right, we can do this. We can
Super.
do this.
Moving
First
on.
round's most important.
Oh, not Mike. I was
Not
gonna say
Mike's pick.
moving
Austin.
on to
No,
Mike.
this is Austin's pick. And
Austin back. What was the
How
trade?
did that come about, Mike?
so the trade was last year. I needed running back help desperately. I really just had Montgomery and Najee Harris, and so I traded for Damian Harris, who, if I remember correctly, I don't know when the trade happened, but I think it might have been post week 1 or post week 2. And I was desperate for running back help. So and Austin has some good young running backs still.
Yeah.
I think he's got Gibson. I think he has
Running back factory over there.
Robinson on the Jags. And so I was basically just like, hey, I'll give you a first straight up for Harris because I need help. And considering I got third last year, I won a little bit of money, and I would do it again. I like Jameson Williams. I like the pick that he got there, but finishing in the money is always the goal. And so I would do that again because he had some really big games for me.
And Williams is at least a year or two away because there's too many mouths to feed.
Yeah.
There, right?
And he's hurt.
Yeah, he's starting.
Yeah.
At least what I saw questionable. He might not even have started. Again, I'm looking pre-week 1, but he has got Amon-Ra. He's got Hawkinson. They've got
DJ Shark is there too.
Shark is there. So I like him as a long-term pick, but less as a like you said, I need to win this year and go for the money. So nice pick from Austin. I've seen him go even earlier in other rounds. But again, he had a back-to-back like Johnny and Doubs or Dubs?
Dude.
No idea.
No clue.
Roads. Yeah, he just kept building, right? Like I think I saw him late second round and then mid second round, then early second round, and he just kept being the guy that like, okay, Aaron Rodgers needs somebody, and he was the guy being talked about. So I can see where Rodgers influenced him going this high, but back-to-back receivers is obviously due to his running back situation. Like he's the only person in our league that probably didn't need a running back anywhere. And you see here that he went with one later, and it's again, a future move because nobody thinks that he's going to be the guy this year, but
I mean, if they're going to win every game, like they, I guess that's post week 1, but
I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I still think they're the
Arizona
second.
defense is very bad.
Yeah, I still think they're the second or third best team in the AFC. I think they're going to lose on Thursday night to the Chargers. I'll click on me, but I know I don't have a pick until the end. More I want to pick on that pick that I traded. Is that you, Sky Moore?
That was me.
Yeah.
I took that from you. I believe that is a remnant of the Michael Thomas trade.
Oh my God. I gave you a 2021 first round and a 2022 second round for Michael Thomas, who has played his first game.
He got hurt, I think, a week or two after I traded him.
Just fun.
But, like for you, it's just really bad luck.
Yeah. But at this point, I'm watching, like I'm wide receiver weak. Like Michael Thomas was I needed him badly. That's why I was willing to trade, because wide receivers were bad for me. And so at this point, I'm watching like, okay, my wide receivers are still there. I wanted Pickens at this point. I've got nothing until it comes around. And then I'm watching Austin go Pacheco. I'm watching you go Brian Robinson.
Which, if I can defend myself, like if he didn't get shot, like he has 20 points the first week, I think.
Yeah, I agree. That's the right pick. I take him before Pacheco. I take him before Spiller. I take him before, not before Pierce, knowing what we know now, but around the Pierce. But anyway, I'm liking the receivers that I'm seeing still there. These three guys, Pickens, Wilson, and Dotson were all who I had my eyes on. And so I started texting like crazy. Rooney wasn't going to give it up. Rooney wanted Pickens. But I started texting Corey. I started texting Johnny, and actually, Mike, I think I texted you as well in this spot.
Yeah.
And you shut me down. Rightfully so. You got your guy. But any of these three guys would have solved my my long-term wide receiver issue. And so I went out and got Corey. And here's what Corey and I talked about, right? Like, I have a great team. I think I have a great team. I scored well the first week, but this league is so competitive that there are no guarantees that that's going to be the 110. There are no guarantees that that's going to be the 19. I could still miss the playoffs because this league is so competitive, and that can still be a 1-1, 1-2, 1-3. And so he's banking on that. But I also got what I thought was a first round receiver who is going to be, you know, kind of the Chris Carter to the Randy Moss of Elijah Moore. Hoping, fingers crossed, hopefully Zach Wilson can be better than he's been. But that's what I was thinking there. I don't want to skip these because these are great picks too. But we do have exactly 4 minutes left for this first episode. Are you guys going to jump on for a second? Are you guys?
I mean, I think Wilson's a good pick. I'm nervous not about Zach Wilson and his capabilities. It's the Jets. It's the Jets. I'm just nervous about
curse.
Yeah. Did we talk about? I know Spiller's not much of a pick. Did we talk anything about him?
Oh my God! Whose pick was that?
I think it was
Corey's. It was Corey's, which speaking to his mind frame, because I talked to him about it. I know he was hoping for Pierce, literally the 3 picks that went before him. He was hoping one of them would fall to 10, primarily the running back. And I think that's why he took Spiller, which of course now is buried on the bottom of the Charger depth chart. But
again, an extremely long-term move. The Chargers are they're going to be good for a long time.
Yes.
And if he's still on the team at that time, Spiller could be, you know, the guy. And so I know it's
foreshadowing a bit, but his last running back pick actually might be the one that affects this season more, since San Francisco running backs can't stay healthy.
Yeah,
that's true.
Davis Price, and I already saw that. Again, we're breaking our week 1 rule, but
yes,
I already saw in the thing that he might be a hot hand or whatever. Okay, so I'm seeing 2 minutes and 40 seconds left. Dotson is, correct me if I'm wrong, the only rookie to score a touchdown this week. The only offensive rookie I can think of. He scored a touchdown. Wentz threw a touchdown to Dotson. I'm going through all of these, and I don't think anybody else scored. So, you know, like I said, these 3 were up there for me. I don't like Washington's situation as much as New York for the future, which again, that pains me to say. But yeah, nice pick, Johnny. He has already paid out, even though he was probably on your bench, most likely on your bench, maybe even your taxi. But he looks good. He got plenty of targets. All right. White, is that Zahir White? Is that yours, V?
Yeah, I needed a running back. I didn't like Rashad White. I didn't like Algier, whatever, from Atlanta. I think the morning of this pick, the Raiders had cut one of their running backs. So I figured
Kenyon Drake.
Yeah, I figured might as well snag White in case he's second fiddle to.
As John knows, Josh Jacobs is really good at getting
hurt Josh Jacobs. So yeah.
Well, Josh Jacobs is always hurt, but still plays. Like that's
quite frustrating.
Yeah, it's the worst thing ever. But he's also on a team that's in the hardest division in football, and they could be out of it and turn to a different hand. Like Josh Jacobs is a stud, but they don't want to commit to him now. Like before it was Kenyon Drake, now it's Brandon fucking Bolden. Like what are you doing? But they obviously.
In fact, I actually had 3 straight picks here, but I traded one to Rooney.
Nice.
I do think your Alec Pierce pick is really good.
I think Michael Pittman is going to be the number 1 wide receiver this year, and I wanted a part of that Indy offense. Not so much now after week 1, but
they'll be okay.
It's week 1. It's week 1.
But I think he's a great young talent, and I think he's just going to continue to grow.
Brian, sorry, we got less than a minute. Brian's pick is already paying off. I have Fournette, so I'm already seeing that he's a guy that would show up if he's injured. Tolbert, I liked early too, because he is in a situation where if the quarterback's healthy, they don't have a lot of receivers. So I liked Tolbert. We talked about him. Oh my goodness, Watson, good situation, but bad hands apparently.
Just get to Ritter before we end.
Yeah. Honestly, our league does not favor quarterbacks. And so like, when do you take them? Like Corey took Lawrence last year and it's like, great, he's a once in a generation quarterback, but like we have guys like, I don't know, Derek Carr is, but like guys in that range sitting on the waiver still, and it's like, I don't know if that's a great pick. Perfect. Okay, so we got cut off. Not only cut off, but it was probably about 40 minutes ago real time. So we're gonna try to piece this together. We hurried a lot of these picks and
drink,
but I feel like it was a very strong second round. I think I said in the last video that the wide receiver class may not be Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, but these three, along with Williams, let me move my talking heads, and Dobbs could be pretty good wide receivers in the future. So we left off, I know I hurried some of these in here, but big trades in here. Algier was an interesting one because I guess before week 1, when Patterson went off, it looked like he could be in a timeshare, but also Cordero is 100 years old. Really, I was watching videos of him with the Vikings back when maybe Percy Harvin was still there. Like,
yep, same gadget backfield.
Yeah, so no one ever thought he'd be anything, but he is something, but he's on his way out, and so Algier looks like he could be the guy. And so V, do you know anything about this trade that Corey?
Yeah, I was either at the gym or grocery shopping, and Rooney texted me because I had made both of those last picks when I wasn't at my house. He's like, I'll give you Shark and a 3rd rounder in the current draft, which I think is the Jelani Woods pick that I ended up trading to Corey, but we'll get into that on my next pick.
Right.
And then, so my thinking at this point is I have White, I have Pierce, I have 2 suspended players, a full taxi squad. I don't like Algier. I don't like White. I don't want another running back to just draft for the shit of it. So I need wide receiver help, and I back up a few spots to see if there's any other, because I didn't want to take McBride or anybody there. So I figured, what the hell, I'll take Shark in case he turns back into a top 20 wide receiver for
sure. And it looks like he can.
Yeah.
Good for you, because if I were you, I probably would have just been super lazy and just taken McBride.
Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I figure I might as well, take a flyer on Shark, and then I can cut him.
Yeah.
No,
it was a good move.
Corey texted me after, pissed. He's like, what the fuck? If I would have known Rooney was going to take him, I would have traded for him back.
So this was a 3-way trade, because this is under Corey's name and it's Emroon, which means that.
Correct. Going into this draft, I had my pick 2-7, 2-8, and 2-9.
Which is what everybody wants. A bunch.
I was very loaded with the end of the 2nd round draft picks and no 1st round.
There's worse spots.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so it's a good pick, because he's probably going to be a starter at some point, either this year or
even
next.
this season. Yep.
And then he comes in, and I've always been this person that's like, okay, this highly touted quarterback, which might not be Ritter, but when NTN came in with Lawrence, right? Like, that is not a dynasty, but it's like, okay, if you're talking about Lawrence being there for the long haul, NTN's going to have some value. So I think the same thing with Algier and Ritter. They're going to be a duo for the future. So strong pick there for Rooney, and with value because it was late in the 2nd round. We talked about White. I think Brian had probably the best, and again, opinion based, but I think he had the best draft for me, and he's already one of the best teams. So
it may not be flashy, it may be boring, but it gets results.
It is. There's no trades. He's not all over the board, but when it came to him, he got 2 running backs that could start this year, that could score this year, and then a wide receiver. If Dak does come back, he could be a guy that scores again this year. So moving on, we already talked about Davis, but this is going to be the hard part.
No, let's expand.
Sure. So Davis Price could get the start, not the start. They've already said that
Jeff Wilson,
which is your guy.
Yeah.
but they did
Always.
be sure to mention that they're going to ride the hot hand. So Jeff Wilson will get the first attempt. Davis Price will probably get the second one, and he's a guy that can.
There's a funny thing that happened the same time this draft pick was made is Corey also had Trey Sermon on his taxi squad.
Oh,
and I'm pretty sure he cut him.
Yeah.
Because Sermon was having a terrible camp, and then he got traded to the Eagles.
Wow.
So he basically just swapped in one third round San Francisco Niner from the year before for another one.
But I mean, to be fair, like I've had Jeff Wilson in this league for a couple of years, and with Eli Mitchell getting hurt constantly, like it's not like he's ever out for a long period of time, but you can always count on him getting hurt again. I think this is a good pick. Like Jeff Wilson, eventually he'll probably get hurt too.
Niners love their running backs.
He has an injury past, and with Shanahan, it seems like it's just plug and play with a running back.
Yep, next man up.
Do you remember when Austin accidentally dropped Eli Mitchell?
Oh, that was fun.
But it was in the other league. It was in Yahoo.
Poor soul. He must have panicked.
$41 in fab budget or whatever.
Exactly. Like when he texted us about it, I thought it was sleeper, and so I was like, "Oh, get him." Turned out it would have been another injury. All right, Wise. We talked about Watson, but I really rushed it. I do think that he is going to be in a good situation. I think that first pass is more of like Rodgers dealing. Like, you've got to be a better leader than that. Like, right. You didn't want to take on Love. You're already throwing out all of your young receivers all throughout camp, all throughout the 3 or 4 preseason games. He's talking garbage about them. Like, this is more on Rodgers than it is on Watson and Doubs. Like, he could be like watch the route he ran that he dropped that pass.
Great.
Like, he was open for a reason. So I do think he's going to be a stud.
He also didn't get a target after that until halfway through the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Which, like, I mean,
it was a rushing
Rodgers, and for the rest of that offense, like, be a pro and let the guy have an opportunity to make up for his mistake. You know,
if there's one thing that Rodgers is not, it's a pro. Like, he's a great quarterback, but he is an asshole.
Yep, 100%.
All right. Now, this is interesting to me because we're looking at V and V, like in the same, like you traded for something that was.
Because I'm pretty sure this was Corey's pick, and I traded back.
It's a 6-way trade.
It was your pick, and then Corey's pick, and then your pick.
Yes. This was probably, what pick would this have been for Corey? This was probably the Galladay, whoever the fuck we swapped last year. Galladay. Julio Jones. It's probably from the Julio Jones trade. But either way, I got it back.
Saying Julio Jones and Galladay in the same sentence is pretty cringeworthy.
In 2017, it wouldn't have been.
Yeah. Right.
No.
Fast forward in Dynasty, life comes at you fast.
Yeah. So McBride was the top tight end. He was widely known as the guy that probably was going to get touches regardless of whether Ertz was healthy. But you just said in the last pick that you didn't want him yet. Yet here we are 5 picks later, 6 picks later, and you are trading back for it. So what did you see in McBride? What does your team look like that you needed
at this point, Zach Ertz had been not practicing for 3 straight days with a calf injury. So I wanted to grab him because they already had Hopkins out. Kirk went to Jacksonville, and the only Rondale Moore, or however you say his name.
Rondale.
He was hurt too, who I think he's actually on my team now. I just wanted the tight end depth, and I wanted another Arizona target.
All right, I like that. But just to point out the Eagles fan here that you've got Goddard and Ertz.
Boston Scott.
I also have Boston Scott, but that's more of a Sanders handcuff.
Philly defense, which
they'll be getting cut because
Philly defense, though, that guy from Georgia, I can't remember his name for the life of me.
White, I think.
Huh?
Is it the linebacker or the?
No, the lineman.
Oh yeah.
That dude. It was something. The stat from this weekend was something.
The running 0.4 yards.
10 yards of carry without him on the field, and like
I saw.
2.9 with him on the field.
Yep, I saw.
Holy
That's
shit.
awesome. That's awesome. That's like a Reggie Bush stat right there. I always refer to Reggie Bush as like that can't be real stat. Like that's
Yeah.
it's so amazing that you're obviously messing with me. All right, so Johnny, so three wide receivers here, which again, I still have a note that he didn't really have a hole there. Really,
I mean, I don't know if we've mentioned we're half PPR, right?
we are, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's something.
Well,
Well,
especially for somebody like Wendell, who is gonna. I don't know if you watched there's a preseason game where he caught 4 passes for 1 yard because he was just getting screens like crazy, and it's odd because they have Kadarius Toney, but if you watched week 1, which again we're talking about, he only played 7 snaps.
That's it.
So Wendell got injured week 1, but there is obviously a reason they drafted 2 guys that are very similar.
They're calling because I have Tony on my taxi squad. I'm very familiar with this situation. Unfortunately, they're saying it's similar to whatever happened to what's his name on the Niners last year, Brandon Ayuk
Ayuk,
yeah.
something in preseason. Put him in the doghouse. How long will he be in the doghouse? But it's like, he's a not top tier, but it's like he's a standout NFL talent. You can't just like keep him in the doghouse when you have a shitty team.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
Giants.
Can we just talk about like the egos of these like white dudes that are in charge, like black players?
Yep.
Give him a fucking break. He's a kid. He's like what, 22, 23 years old?
Yeah.
Put him on the field. He can play.
Tony is probably the second most talented person on their team after Saquon. But yeah, just like drafting Wendell, showing him 7 snaps, like it's the disrespect is real.
But you have to put this in a context. Like, this is the organization who bet on Evan Engram through. I mean, I think that's all I need to say. Like, it's 3 years of bullshit with him.
Well, they're still betting on Daniel Jones too.
Which
Daniel Jones is a decent quarterback considering.
They don't have an offensive line. Yeah.
They don't. They have the worst offensive line in football.
Why do you think Saquon's hurt so much?
I don't think Brian.
Not his quads.
Is that the coach there, Brian DeBall? Whatever. I don't think.
Dabble. Wow. V cannot pronounce things.
I don't think he's a very good coach. But
Olave.
I like him. All right. So again, in Corey's category, he traded all his stuff away. So going back to Corey Vladsoff, he took Ritter here. We already talked about that, but I like him. I do think not only do I like him, I love the way he talks, that like Super Bowl or bust. Like, dude, you're not even a starter yet, but he's talking about Super Bowl. I like Ritter. Our league is still, and you guys, I think it was V, you brought it up that like we need to do something to change how
quarterbacks are just so undervalued.
Yeah. And you're right. I was against that, and I still am against the 2 quarterbacks, but something needs to change because we do have good quarterbacks sitting on the waivers and dynasty rookie draft. Like, you don't even need to touch them. So
does this league have? Is it same as our other?
It's 5 points to throwing touchdown. But still, there's
5 is more than other leagues though, and I think the problem is it's dynasty, and you know that quarterbacks, if they don't succeed right away, that's it.
Well, but I think to John's point is like there's no reason to like carry a guy in your bench because at any moment you've got Derek Carr or even Matthew Stafford just on the waiver wire hanging out.
Really,
so
honestly,
what's the point?
Stafford's not on the waiver wire, but it's a good point.
Carson Wentz is on the waiver wire.
Yeah,
threw 4 touchdowns. No one picked him up.
Yeah,
right. So it's hard. Again, I'm in this.
Actually, hold on.
Is he not?
No, he's that.
No, I was acting like I was going to go pick him up. 100% not.
It's tough because in my other league, Ritter went in the first round. Pickett went in the first round, but it's a super flex. So exactly what Corey and Ryan V were asking for. that's what we have, and it just changes the way that quarterbacks are drafted because there isn't a single backup in the league that is not on somebody's team. Like you have to really be ready because we get to start 2 of them, and there's more teams. Like we're in a 10-team league as well, so we've got to find a way to make quarterbacks more valuable. But Ritter, an awesome player. I don't know if Ritter or Pickett would have been picked up in this draft for me, but I do like his next pick. You can, again, ask Rooney. I was texting about Jelani Woods in several of my leagues. 1, I'm a Colts fan, but 2, the Colts have always been, they had Ebron, then it was Mo Alley Cox, and they just love their tight ends in the red zone. And so it's always boom or bust.
Yeah, Jack Doyle.
Yeah, they're not going to be the team that throws for 10 targets, 10 minutes.
Doesn't Woods have like insane measurables too?
Yes. Yeah. He's got the height and he's got the weight and he's
like 270, 6'9", and like the.
Yeah, I'm not big on the measurables. Like 6'9" is too tall.
It's Jimmy Graham.
Just throw the ball up. And
Jimmy Graham's not 6'9". That dude's like 6'6".
I don't know. It's red zone.
No, there's a point where you're too big and you just become injury prone.
Maybe.
What about what's the Jets tackle who's hurt now? He's out for the year. He's the second year offensive tackle, and he's like 6'7", 350, and it's like, no, he's too big. He can't do it. Yeah. His knees cannot stay together. And I would say the same for a tight end. Like at 6'9", you're not really getting out of the gates that fast.
He's actually 6'7", according to NFL.com. So
6'7" is fine.
And that weight puts him 20 pounds lighter than Jimmy Graham.
Woo!
Jimmy Graham is not 275.
I'm telling you, he was 6'8", 275. That's what I would have had him at before this talk. But still, like I said, Colts are red zone only with tight ends. They are wide receiver, running back. Until they get there. And so a guy like Jelani Woods, if Mo Alley Cox ever got injured, he's going to be a guy that sees
I don't even know who Corey's tight ends are. This might have been, I know he traded Schultz to you. So
and he had a good situation. Yeah, Hooper I liked this year too. Didn't have a great week 1, which we're not supposed to talk about.
Yeah.
I thought he had another one because it was I went to Corey. He didn't come to me with that. I wanted not Schultz. I just needed a tight end, and I went to teams that had multiple. And maybe it was Irv Smith that I was like, oh, he's going to be good too.
He also had Hunter Henry, I think, or whoever the other Patriots, Jonnu Smith, whoever.
Pretty sure I had both of them last year and dropped them.
Yes. You definitely had Henry last year.
Yeah.
Before he got.
I think I had both of them. Even if maybe it was across a couple leagues, but neither one of them did it.
Either way, Corey did not come to me and say I want to get rid of Dalton Schultz. I went to him, which tells me he had a good tight end situation, and he still has an all right. I think Austin Hooper is going to be good. All right, Mike, you went with Pickett here. Tiny hands. Tell me about that.
I'm not quite worried about his hands. I think his size overall is pretty good. Obviously this year, next year, he's not starting for me. If they can figure out their offensive line in the next year and a half, 2 years, that I would be happy with the pick. I think he has the intangibles. I think he can really throw the ball a lot better than Trubisky can, as a Bears fan, I know.
Sure.
And so, this is just the fact, like I have Lamar Jackson, who's semi-injury prone, but a play every week player. I have Tua.
He's 25 and Tua's 24. I'm sitting here thinking, what the hell are you doing? You've got quarterback. You're the second best quarterback. Johnny has Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. But
so this is what I'm worried about. I'm worried that Miami's not sold on Tua.
And then
Jackson breaks his leg
because they've actively been trying to get Tom Brady in there, and he's 45 freaking years old.
What if Bridgewater goes to Dallas now?
I mean, I
Is
still
that
keep
the
Pickett.
talk?
I don't know what you're asking.
So Bridgewater is Tua's only backup right now, and
Yeah.
I was just watching things that were like, who's going to replace Dak, and they were talking about the best backups in the league, and Bridgewater was one of those guys.
Yeah, who I just dropped, you mean?
Yeah, well, I would too. I'm just saying that, like,
Yeah.
I like Tua's. Again, we're not supposed to talk about after week one, but
No,
Tua
but
played well in week one, and he may have.
He's accurate, which I think is great. Hi, we're recording. What's up? It's John and V. We're really recording.
I can tell. Hi.
Hello. So we're talking about our last couple picks here. Hello, Rachel.
We only have 5 minutes left, right?
We have
We
5
really-
minutes left.
Yeah.
Moving
I'll come
on
see
to
you. I'll come see you.
Austin's
Hi.
last pick.
Friends.
I'll cut that. Don't worry.
Austin's last pick, he went with Bell. I know he loves
Who?
his. Yeah, I don't even know the first name. I was gonna say David, but then I was like, that's a baseball player.
I thought Devon, but isn't that the Eagles guy?
I don't know. To
From
me,
he was from the Canadian.
The hurdler.
Yes. That
oh,
guy.
Devin Allen.
Yes.
Oh wow, not even close.
Yeah, Devin Allen
it was Bell.
is. Yeah,
Austin's
just,
good at this though, pulling out random ass players that turn into stuff sometimes.
and he must know something that I don't, because one, he was stacked on running backs, and two, you're behind Chubb and Hunt. It's like, but again, I'm not going to doubt Austin. I'm not going to doubt that, like, he is going to snag somebody who's going to start in the next 2 years and be a stud running back. So this was the one, not head scratcher, because I've seen him go in that range, but like, I don't understand it. And I don't have all the answers. So we'll see.
I mean, there's always that guy who in the next couple of years is just going to pop up and be a must play.
Yeah. Where's he? I don't know if it'll say where he's from. Purdue. Okay. Big Ten fan. Okay.
Some play against the Bears, light them up, and
So this was my only pick of the draft. I traded my next year first round. I thought it was necessary because my wide receiver issue, but this was my only pick. Shakir is a slot guy. He will probably forever be a slot guy. What is his size? He's a little dude. Yep, 190. But I saw Cole Beasley get dropped. I saw Shakir from Boise State. Mike, I was right.
good call with that.
Good on the blue field.
Yeah, he is one of the fastest 40s in the draft, which I know that they weigh heavily. So I really thought that in a high-powered offense, he'd be the guy. Isaiah McKenzie came in and swooped that away from me, but I do think in the long run, he'll be one of those guys. So
Nothing wrong with the weapon on a Josh Allen offense.
Exactly. And who knows how long he'll be with Josh Allen, but I do think he'll be with somebody. And for a 310, last pick of the draft, I thought I'd go with somebody that was
As someone who dropped Dawson Knox last year for Jonnu Smith, I would say that what you just said, John, is correct.
Okay, in your defense, because I had
terrible.
Dawson Knox for like 2 years, holding on to him is beyond frustrating.
It was hard. He was on my taxi squad, and then
Corey was here.
I lost patience.
Corey came to Durango, Colorado, which is not easy to get to. And we watched Thursday Night Football together, and he had Dawson Knox against me in both leagues, Yahoo and Sleeper, and he scored 1 point. And so,
I mean, that's fair, but I don't take much stock in week one.
I take all stock because I had a good first week.
Number one overreaction week.
So the last thing I want to look at is just who got left on here, and this is
Malik Willis.
Yeah.
Malik Willis, but again, quarterback.
We
really need that.
I almost took him instead of Pickett. It was close.
I almost took Haskins instead of Shakir. I thought, and somebody picked up Haskins.
There was some weird news about him when we were in that third round, though. Like scroll down past. Oh, this don't only have his most recent. That's kind of annoying.
Yeah, super annoying. Yeah, Pierre Strong was another one I considered, but again, New England running back.
Yeah.
Justin Ross, but Sky Moore. Like, do you really want two?
Danny
wide-
Gray is supposed to be a bigger name too. Yeah, and he's oh fuck. Izukama.
We have less than a minute. We're gonna get cut off randomly.
Yeah. So speaking of week 1, we're gonna go do the recap next, and
Yeah,
everyone
we
should
can
check
either
that
do it
out.
tonight, but we'll definitely continue this. This was fun. Hopefully you viewers enjoyed this. I know it's long, but it's something that if you want to jump in with us next time, please do. Yeah, cheers. We'll have a good season this year. All right.